Now to Southeast Africa, where hundreds of people marched on the outskirts of Burundi's capital in a third day of protest against the President Pierre Nkurunziza's decision to run for a third term. Protesters gathered early Tuesday carrying banners and chanting that they will never accept a third term for Mr. Nkurunziza. The protests are the most significant political crisis in Burundi since civil war ended a decade ago, was sparked by the president's announcement on Saturday that he would run in the June 26 elections. Protesters ignited fires, but there was no initial indication of serious clashes between protesters and police. Officials say the unrest has left at least 3 people dead since the protests began on Sunday. Now, for more insight on the unfolding situation in Burundi, Apollinaire Niyirora, a veteran journalist, joins us by Skype phone from Bujumbura. Mr. Niyirora, welcome to Africa 54.
Yes, thank you.
Now, very briefly, help us understand why are we witnessing these very sustained demonstrations?
Well, these demonstrations that started actually on Sunday, they are signs of a protest because these demonstrations were actually announced even before, because the organizers of the demonstrations, I mean, there's some civil society organizations and some opposition parties, they said Nkurunziza cannot run a third term because he's just completing his 10 years. 10 years, that means 2 terms. I mean, because he has been in power since 2005, and now with this year, 2010, it's just 10 years that he has completed his 10 years, now, which is provided in the national constitution. They also say that these 2 terms are also provided in the Arusha Agreement for Peace and the Reconciliation.
Now, Apollinaire, what is his justification for wanting a third term?
The justification. Do you mean the justification by the ruling party or the opposition?
By the ruling party.
The protesters?
Yes, by the ruling party.
Okay, by the ruling party. The ruling party says in 2005, President Pierre Nkurunziza was elected by the parliament. I mean, the National Assembly and the Senate united. So they argue that he was not elected directly by the population, what we call universal suffrage. They say this term, I mean, from 2005 to 2010 is not a term as such. So they say he didn't have enough powers on the other institutions. So they say that shouldn't be considered as a term. And then they say what should be considered as a term was the one he had from 2010 up to now, because he was elected in a universal suffrage.
Okay, Mr. Niyirora, we'll be watching the situation. Thank you very much for joining us today. Apollinaire Niyirora is a Burundi-based journalist.